and this is PatZi with a Z. Welcome to Joy on Paper Live, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. And I am so happy to have with me today one of my contributors, and it is a wonderful story of how I met DAVON Miller. Hi, DAVON.
Hi, Patsy. It's so good to be here with you today.
Well, it's nice to have you here. It is so exciting. I remember when you came into the studio the first time, I said to myself, I think you had maybe said like three sentences. And I said, oh my goodness, I was so impressed with you. I just said, oh, I need DAVON. I need DAVON to be part of Joy on Paper. And there you are in the studio. And of course, that was way back. That was a long time ago. The years have gone. We went through the COVID and we went through everything. But all that time, you have been doing these wonderful, wonderful book buzzes, little 2-minute promos for children's books. And it has been such a wonderful addition to Joy on Paper. Everyone loves them. They are just delightful. And this is the poster from 2021, and that was a 12 that you did that year. And they were all great. And so let's talk a little bit today about first, I wanted to introduce you to everybody so that they could get to know you because we're going to have your book buzzes on Joy on Paper Live all the time. On every program, we will have one. And so I wanted you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your books.
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course. First of all, I'm so honored to even be a part of the Joy on Paper family as one of the correspondents. But for those of you out there that don't know me, my name is DAVON Miller. I'm a children's author and illustrator of the Mr. Tickety-Toc Clock children's book series, and basically those books center around a red twin-belled clock, and they're all about encouraging children just to have fun reading. And that's one of Mr. Tickety Talk Clock's favorite activities. And it's just been so much fun getting to write that series alongside doing these book buzzes. So thank you so much again.
Well, when you came into the studio and you started talking about the series, and I was so amazed. I spent years and years and years in school counting the minutes until a class was finished. And I looked at that clock up there on the wall a million times, and it never occurred to me that my Mr. Tickety Clock might actually come alive one day. And there you did it. There you thought about it. And it's so clever. It's so delightful. He is a delightful character. So tell us why you came out with the idea, and then perhaps you could show us some of the books that you have written. I have one up right now. It's time to read because, well, for you and for me, it is always time to read, right?
Yes, absolutely. The idea of Mr. Tickety Talk Clock really stemmed. I have to go back. It really stemmed from my love of writing. First of all, I used to write and illustrate so much when I was just a preschooler. I would look at different stories I was inspired by and really become captivated with the characters I saw on TV. And of course, just fast forward, I was one day bored in class. I don't know why, but just one day I just looked up at the clock and I'm like, that would just be such an interesting idea for a story. And here we are. We're nearing up on 10 years of when the first book came out, and it's just been a delight to see where it's been, and it's been the delight to see the impact it has on readers who just adore this character, honestly.
And you've even done some merchandising with the character because he's certainly cute.
Yes, absolutely. As you can see, I have my Mr. Tickety Tuck Clock shirt on right now. Of course, I always have my wonderful dear friend with me as he waves to the
He's always
camera.
around, yeah.
Stickers as well. We give those out to children, and pencils, and so many other different things.
And
And
you even had
uh,
masks during
yeah,
the pandemic.
yes, absolutely, yes. Masks, just so many things, even coloring sheets. I mean, it's the whole shebang. It's been a delight.
So, do you want to tell us which was your first book? Which was the first one you wrote and published?
Yeah, the first book I did is called Mr. Tickety-Tock Clock, Goodnight, Mr. Clock. This story essentially is about Mr. Tickety-Tock Clock, essentially just trying to get some sleep. You know, we're all trying to do that every single day of our lives. We're all trying to get some sleep out there, and but you know, for some reason, you know, in this story, he just cannot get some sleep. There's so many things interrupting him and all that, and you know, I feel like that's kind of relatable there. You know, sometimes you know we aren't able to fall asleep, and sometimes we do have distractions and then whatnot. But that book I wrote when I was 11 years old. So that was my first ever published book, and just really, really proud to see how far it came, you know, into fruition.
Well, it is wonderful. And there are how many books in the series now?
There are five
Five.
in total.
Okay, well, they're all delightful. And as I said, the merchandising is adorable. So, but tell us where this love of reading came from because you did spend some time in the hospital when you were a kid. So, were you doing a lot of reading then?
Yeah, I always credit reading to my wonderful mom and dad, especially my mom. You know, when she was pregnant with me, she would actually just read to me while I was inside her womb. And, you know, I honestly think that's where that love of reading came from, you know, just coming out of her womb, just always loving to read and always loving to write. And I was always just fascinated by, you know, various different stories. And so, of course, the storytelling of certain books always gravitated me as a kid. Of course, you know, Dr. Seuss and Magic School Bus. I was a really huge fan of that as a kid. And Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Captain Underpants, just so many beloved stories that just encouraged me to keep reading as a kid.
And you've been giving a lot back to your community. You've done a lot of work with children, reading for them, going around to libraries and events to talk to them. And what happened with the city of St. Petersburg? Something really big.
Yeah, you know, totally big. But yeah, you know, as you mentioned, I do a lot of give backs to the children's hospital because, you know, at a young age, I was diagnosed with severe asthma, which forced me in and out of the hospital so many times as a kid. And you know, when I first started publishing my books, you know, the idea of giving back really was at the forefront of like public events that I do. So, you know, just every time like I would do a book signing, you know, we would donate part of the proceeds to John Hopkins All Children's Hospital because we were so thankful just to everyone that helped me out as a young kid. You know, I we never knew if I was going to make it, but so that you know we're so thankful for that, and so of course I've been able to partner up with John Hopkins All Children's Hospital in the past with various events, even doing a give back to the restaurant of Chili's. Um, but you know, as you also mentioned, something big did happen with the city of St. Petersburg. I think just you know just for my community activism, especially during the pandemic where I was able to raise awareness for Black authors at the time. I became one of the Sunshine ambassadors just for my advocacy for literature within the community. So that was such a huge honor that I didn't see coming.
And how old were you then? That was when you were
Oh, that was 2021. So I believe it might have been 19 at the time.
19. And now, of course, you're in college and you're going to graduate in May? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Currently at the University of Central Florida, majoring in English for creative writing. So very soon I'll be getting my bachelor's degree.
Well, you are such a wonderful young man. I as I said when you walked into the studio and you started talking, I said, "Oh, I love the voice. I love you. I love your story." And of course, then afterwards, I met your mother. And your mother is so sweet. She was there so eager to see how you were doing. And so we started first with the book buzzes and those lovely 2-minute promos that you do, and everybody loves them. And I know we're going to have many of those authors that you did book buzzes for are going to be here on Joy on Paper Live, and you're going to join us so that you can actually you've talked about their books, but you haven't met most of them, and so you'll meet them online here on Joy on Paper Live. But you did manage to. Now I know you've been really busy these past few years, but you did manage to host one program, come into the studio. You took over the whole hour, and you did a great job. And I was so proud of you. And I hope once you graduate, you'll find some.
Hey everyone, it's DAVON Miller, author and illustrator of the Mr. Tickety-Toc Clock children's book series, reporting for Joy on Paper with the latest on children's book buzz. There are so many individuals who become heroes for America, and Harriet Tubman is certainly no exception. And you can learn more about her in the book Before She Was Harriet, written by Lisa Klein Ransom and illustrated by her husband, James E. Ransom. Awarded an honorary Coretta Scott King Award and being an NAACP Image Award nominated book in both 2018, Before She Was Harriet recounts the life of Harriet Tubman backwards from her time as being an old woman all the way until she was a little girl. From a Union spy, to a nurse, to a conductor, she has gone by many names with many roles. What's beautiful about the book is that it's told as a poem while also having watercolored illustrations detailing the visual accuracy of her life. The idea of Before She Was Harriet came about when James was tossing around ideas to his wife, with a high interest in wanting to do a story about Harriet Tubman. With there already being so many stories about Harriet Tubman, Lisa had no interest at all when the idea was pitched to her, despite her already being a fan of Harriet Tubman. Eventually, she found interest when James fine-tuned the idea for the story. Born and raised outside of Boston, Lisa's mom encouraged her interest in writing by presenting her with a diary. While James was born in North Carolina, he would become intrigued with the illustrations he saw in television, films, and photographs. Together, the both of them have created a number of award-winning books, with Before She Was Harriet being one that you'd want to add to your bookshelf. The story of an inspiring hero told through an inspiring pair. This is DAVON Miller reporting for Joy on Paper. For more book buzz involving children's books and authors, head on over to radio-joyonpaper.com and click on DAVON Miller's Book Buzzes. I think it's about time that I buzz out now.
Well, DAVON, that was so cute. You prepared that one. And then, of course, when you were a guest host, you had two wonderful, wonderful guests. And it was so much fun. I know they appreciated it. And we're going to have them here on the program. And again, it's been just such a joy to discover you. And I have to thank somebody very special who, we are so... really, both of us are blessed that we met Bria Burton, because Bria Burton is terrific. She's also become, of course, a host on Joy on Paper. She does book buzzes for Sci-Fi, and I thought, well, when she's the one who said, well, you just have to talk to DAVON. He's just marvelous. And I said, well, okay, and I didn't know what to expect, but boy, I was so happy. And then. Now I want to, since you're here, let's introduce, Bria has just done a special review for 11 sci-fi authors. So I'll play that and then we'll talk some more after, okay? So let's watch this.
Sounds good.
Bria couldn't be here today. It's spring break and she's got a little one and they're having fun. But she's going to, of course, join me so that we can talk about her books. But here is her review for 11 sci-fi authors, and all of them are also going to be guests here on Joy on Paper Live. Hi, welcome to Joy on Paper Live, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. I am so excited that I have today on the program an author interview with Bria Burton, who is not just an author, she is also a contributor to Joy on Paper, and she does our book buzzes that we do for writers. I'm so happy to welcome you back to Joy on Paper, but now I can see you. It's not just in the radio. Oh, it's
Hey,
so great to see you.
PatZi.
Well,
It's great to see you and be seen. And actually, yeah, the radio is so fun, but there is that missing element of actually seeing the
that's right.
face.
And to see your smile and to see your face. And now we get to also show everybody the books that you're talking about, because on the radio, they hear your lovely voice and you've selected beautiful music for these book buzzes that you prepare for us. But now we can actually see the books also, and you can tell us about the authors that you have done so much for, interviewing them, some on the radio program yourself and others that you've just done book buzzes for. But here we go. And let's start with one of my favorites, not just because of his wonderful book, but because I've been watching him like so many of everybody in the world. LOU Diamond Phillips is one of the most beloved movie stars. He has everything. He's just charming, delightful, handsome, and of course, a great actor. And now he's a great writer. So let's start with him.
Yes, so it's been a privilege to be a special correspondent for science fiction books at Joy on Paper. And I had the honor of interviewing LOU Diamond Phillips and getting to read his amazing book, The Tinderbox Soldier of Indira. He is an incredible writer, if you can imagine just such multifaceted talent in one man. So he's just got this fantastic space opera that is set in a galaxy far, far away. There are battling civilizations where this planet is split, and one civilization is on one half and the other is on the other. And there's a prophecy about the two coming together, with the princess of one culture and then a common soldier of the other. So he's written this incredibly almost Shakespearean themed type story set in outer space. And there are these wonderful creativity pieces with some of the creatures that are in this world. And his wife is actually the artist who illustrated the 30 illustrations that make an appearance in the book. So when he was talking about just how much he adored having his wife's work in the book, that was a really special thing to hear him share how much he enjoys her artistry. And it's beautiful artwork that she does in the book. It's also this little bit of a Romeo and Juliet feel, but military sci-fi. He's managed to just put together this incredible conglomeration of so many types of genres together under the sci-fi banner. So very exciting also that he has a sequel coming out this year, is what I've heard, that it's coming out this year. So I am keeping close watch, checking in with his agent to find out when the next book will be coming. So we're hoping to have him back on the show to talk about the sequel. So can't wait for that. Definitely get your hands on the Tinderbox as soon as you can. The next book, I've had also the privilege of talking to New York Times bestseller Veronica Roth, who many people know her because of the Divergent series, which was a phenomenal bestseller, just off the charts. And that is a YA sci-fi dystopian series. This time she jumped in with Poster Girl into the adult dystopian. And it's even more interesting because it's the dystopia after the dystopia. It's a very interesting take on what happens when this main character, Sonia, what happens when you were in a dystopia, that civilization got taken over by another regime. And now this girl is imprisoned in a community with others who were considered dissidents, now that the new regime is in charge. And so she sees everything in this light of coming out of a former regime that she was the poster girl for. So everything she starts to learn about the new regime, at first, it just seems like wholesale evil. But then she's tasked to find out what happened to a missing girl, and she can start earning some of her freedoms. And she starts to discover there's a little bit more going on than she realized. And so this character starts out a little bit, I wasn't even sure that I liked the character right away, But as she develops, as her character arc goes along, and this is just a testimony to Veronica Roth's writing skill, she just takes this character on this journey that you really see some of her coming out of even certain brainwashing type things, and discovering how to really pick apart what's happening around her and get to the bottom of things. So really fascinating, a little bit dark, definitely more adult sci-fi, and a really great read. She has such lyrical writing. It's wonderful to read Veronica Roth. So definitely get your hands on her book as soon as possible as well. I'll probably say that for all of these. And then the next one is an independent author named G.S. Jensen. Her cover absolutely drew me. I just thought it was so beautiful. And she has 19 books that are part of an Amaranthi Universe series, and she breaks them up into different like trilogies and quadrilogies, and this one happens to be a standalone. So I picked up this book as the standalone. I can't wait to go back and read some of her other series in the same universe. It's a space opera, but this story is one of the characters that apparently is a lesser character in the series, just not a main character, but now she gets her own story. Her name's Marley, and she's an ambassador for this new world that she herself comes from, a planet populated by all types of aliens, including humans, and they are making connections with a planet that has never had alien encounter. They're a different type of alien. And so she goes through the portal, goes through the wormhole, enters into the ambassador chamber to find her ambassador that she's supposed to meet with murdered on the floor with the murderer leering over the body. And so with G.S. Jensen, it's like from the minute you say go, it's on. And she just does these wonderful thriller, action-packed stories with a lot of emotion as well, because you start to learn the story. This theme seems to be running. What's really going on? And the main character Marley, starts to discover what was really going on from what she witnessed at the crime scene. She's taken captive by this group of people that these aliens that are essentially trying to rescue victims of, they call it the ear regime. And they're trying to rescue these people because they've been terribly mistreated because of certain gifts that they have. And so then she's getting to learn about what's really going on, how she can be part of this resistance, and getting these connections with this alien race. It's fascinating to see the human interactions with the aliens and observing how they treat family, how they treat, different people. And there's this wonderful emotional piece that I really enjoy in the midst of high stakes action. So definitely want to get your hands on G.S. Jensen's books. So the next one, I was thrilled because I just this month got to talk, or just the end of last month, just got to talk to Jeffrey A. Carver. He is now a Frank Herbert Lifetime Achievement Award winner, phenomenal author. He has been writing sci-fi for a long, long time. He is a masterclass in science fiction in the scope of, like, I think of Star Trek when I was reading Sunborn. It's optimistic. It's creatures in outer space. They're not always like the sentience is not always the typical alien. There's a character in Sunborn that is this giant, like cloud-like, not amoeba, but it's something kind of like that. And he does this incredible job of drawing you in to these types of characters that are made up of things like dark matter. And he takes you on journeys through this, particularly the main character, John Bandicott. This is book 4 of the Chaos Chronicles. So I got to jump in right in the middle and didn't realize it when I picked up the book. But again, learning from an author like this, as an author myself, how to write a story that anybody could just pick up, even though it's in the middle of a series, because he drops these hints and doesn't just bog down the story with what happened in books 1, 2, and 3, but you get enough hints to move on to what's happening with the current story. And then, of course, I want to go back. And so I did. I went back and read all of these books, and they are fantastic. The Chaos Chronicles has 6 books. He is still working on book 7. So It's going to be really exciting when that book comes out. So Jeffrey A. Carver, definitely an author. Any book of his that you would pick up, I would say it's going to be good. So next we have Edward Ashton. And he's got this great book, Mickey 7. And I would say one of the things that really drew me in about his book was some of the humor. The character in the book is an expendable, basically a clone who goes on these really deadly missions because he can just get rebirthed with the cloning process that they have. And so once, Mickey 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 goes down, now we have Mickey 7. And there's this wonderful dark humor and kind of tongue-in-cheek humor throughout. The main character's voice is just very, very rich and very entertaining. So this book was a lot of fun to read, and he was fantastic to talk to. His book is actually being made into a major motion picture, which is very exciting for authors because that's just, even some incredible books out there do not get that opportunity. So it's really fun that his book will be made into a movie called Mickey 17. And when I was chatting with him, I got to find out how, when you're giving away rights to a book for the screen, most of the time authors have almost zero and less than zero say in what's going to happen in the movie. And so this was something very special where he got the opportunity to chat with the director. The main star of this movie is going to be Robert Pattinson of Twilight fame. And so Edward was chatting with the director, and the director asked him, hey, what would you like to see make it into the movie? And that's not something the director had to do, but he was really kind and let Edward tell him, here's what I would love to see. And so that's going to be very exciting. I'm not sure if it's this year or next year that the movie comes out, but it's going to be very fun to see how. And I would definitely say, read the book first. That's always my advice. Read the book and then go check out the movie. So you'll have plenty of time while this movie is still in production and everything. So the next one is Nancy Kress, and she is also just, such an incredible writer. She does an incredible job of tying together multiple points of view, multiple main characters in this far away, there's a lot of far, far away galaxy stories that are so fun for sci-fi. This one is a little bit on the political side because some of the main characters are from these, there's a corporation that's basically ruling one planet. And then there's a libertarian alliance that rules another planet. And then there's like a free planet over here. And there's all these wormholes. And so there's just the dichotomies, there's the different ways that these political systems are at work in these different planets and in the solar system as a whole, and who is in charge of the gates for space travel, for intergalactic travel. And there's a discovery of the 11th gate, so hence the title. And she has a wonderful, just tying in everything from the beginning to end of how it's a lovely standalone novel as well. It's actually not part of a series. So a nice standalone, which sometimes can be fun to just pick up and know that it's going to be a very complete story. Witnessing how she manages to make these political climates very interesting. Sometimes that's something that can be tricky to want to really dive into deep politics if you're into sci-fi. But the great thing she does is you get inside the characters. You get to hear what their motivations are. Even this one character that seems like pretty villainous type, and he's in the corporation and doing a little bit of sketchy things, but you find out some of his motivations over time. And there's a little bit of that. And that's what a great writer does. A great writer helps a villain have some sympathy, and maybe they're not actually a villain after all, and those types of wonderful explorations as you read. So I hope you'll pick up Nancy Kress. And then we have a debut novelist, Carol Stivers. This was her first novel. The Mother Code, I think I've got the paperback cover, and then you'll see the hardcover, which is slightly different. So the Mother Code was one that was a little dear to my heart because I'm very interested in AI. And I think a lot of people are, especially right now with all the advances that are happening, and it's happening so quickly. Some things are happening so quickly that they can't keep up with what's legal and what's illegal. And they're creating these things that AI chat can do. And who knows if it's supposed to be doing what it's doing. And so the Mother Code is imagining AI robots that are mothers. So essentially, there's like a worst case scenario. If humanity appears like it's going to be getting wiped out, they have this team creating AI mother bots, and they're meant to carry the embryos. And there's a whole plan to get them to this desert safely if they have to be launched. Well, of course, they have to be launched in the story, but it's not for the reason that they were designed to be launched. So there's this whole piece of these children that are getting raised by these bots in the desert, and then the people in the military who know that it was sent and trying to figure out how to reconnect, get these bots back, get these children back. It is a really fascinating look at what it means to be a mother. What does artificial intelligence have to bring to that, if anything? And so I definitely recommend picking up Carol's book, and excellent debut novel. And then we're back to galaxy hopping. So Rogue Pursuit by B.L. Dean. And this is a YA. And so I would say, I think it probably would be rated like PG-13. There's a little bit of violence, very, very slight romantic elements for the most part, very much YA friendly for the young audience. And she has this character who is a pilot, and she's a little bit of a smuggler. So she gets kind of caught up in this, what she thinks is this government agent asking for her help to go track down a rogue agent. But there's a little bit more to the story, which I love saying that because every book seems to have that. At least every book that I enjoy seems to have things are not as they seem. And so this character, she's 17. In the book, she actually turns 18. So you get an idea of the age of the character. And she is, going through these wormholes. She's like the expert pilot. One of the cool sci-fi elements that I loved about this book was the wormholes are based on color spectrums. And B.L. Dean just had different ideas for how, okay, this wormhole travels farther, faster, so it's going to be these colors. And this one is a little bit shorter, and you're not going as far or as fast. And I love those little details, are just so rich. And this is also action-packed, nonstop. Like it just goes. So there's moments where I was thinking, oh gosh, I got to take a breath because they're just hot on pursuit of this rogue agent. But then others are pursuing them because, of course, the guy that she agreed to smuggle through these wormholes, there's a little bit more to his story too. So there's people after him. And there's space pirates. It's a blast. So highly recommend picking up B.L. Dean, and it's in the Shades of Starlight. It's book 1. There are 4 books in this series, which is, I believe, a complete series now. So definitely get your copy. And then we have Operation Grendel by Daniel Schwabauer. I had to ask him if I was saying his name correctly. So this one is military sci-fi with a little bit of propaganda, a lot of propaganda, a little bit of psyop. It was one of my favorite books to read last year because it had one of the biggest twist endings that I had read last year. And I just stopped at the end and thought, okay, now I need to read the whole thing again because I have a whole new look about what I just read. And that is the type of storytelling that just can blow my socks off. And I love that about this book, that it can be read in a different way once you finish it the first time. And so the main character is a journalist. He's trying to get the scoop on these characters. These bad guys are called Grendels. They're basically, there's an AI implant. Speaking of AI and what's going on in the world, there's an AI implant, and basically it's like it goes wrong and it creates these monsters. So these people become killing machines. And so he's on a journalistic assignment to go out into the depths of the war and figure out what's really going on. And it's very, very cool to read it, just not knowing anything more than that. So I don't want to give any spoilers except to say things are not as they seem, but you're going to really enjoy following the journey through Operation Grendel. So get this one as soon as possible. Next, we are back in kind of a political, a Cold War landscape in deep space. This one, I would say, Deception Fleet is the book series. The book's name is Victory's Wake. Steve Raza was writing in the Gibbs verse. So Daniel created this universe with all these book series that he has. And then Steve, so you'll notice two authors on this book. Steve came on as a co-author and was basically writing in Daniel Gibbs' universe. So it was so cool to talk to him about that collaboration. He got to basically, he said, I did my homework. He was already a fan. So he said, I made sure I was well versed in all the characters that were going to appear in the books that I was working on with Daniel. And if there were new characters, he had to make sure that they, fit in this universe and would be applicable. And so he said he had such a blast writing this. It's a 6-book series. This is volume 1 of the 6 books. A lot of fun. And it is this kind of Cold War in deep space. And the main character is a bit of a Mission Impossible type character. He's an intelligence agent. He's a man of many faces. And he gets this team together because there's this human smuggling element going on. And this border planet is kind of the hot spot. And people are trying to flee and escape this formerly in power regime. There's a lot of regimes in a lot of these stories. And then Jackson, the character who is part of this infiltration group that's trying to figure out, okay, where are they smuggling these people? What is going on? They have to come, do all sorts of Mission Impossible type tasks to figure out what's happening. And the team is just this wonderful group of characters that you fall in love with. It reminded me so much of the Mission Impossible movies, but in its own, in a galaxy far, far away. In space, there's cool tech and cool different ships and stuff like that. So that can just add a lot to all the sci-fi fans out there who just enjoy that type of stuff. So get your hands on Steve Raza and Daniel Gibbs books. Next, and certainly last but not least, is Awakened by T.E. Bradford. And there's another AI, as you'll notice, element in this one. And this is a very nice and short novella, so I'll just kind of show you the spine. It's a shorter book, and one of the reasons that I really enjoy picking up novella length is because it can be a quick read, it can be a bedtime read, and sometimes it's just enjoyable to have a complete story that only takes an hour or two to read. So Sci-Fi works very well, I think, in the novella length because it can be such a tightly told story with a lot of punch in a short time frame. And this is where I will talk about T.E. Bradford. That's exactly what she does. She packs a lot of punch in a short amount of space and has this wonderful writing style. The main character is in the middle of a war and they are fighting the machines, and it turns out that she's in trouble. She thinks this is the end. It's my time. I'm about to be killed. But one of the machines actually rescues her and saves her. And so what does she do? And that's kind of the tagline right there. What if your worst enemy was your only hope? So now she needs this machine to help her get back across the line where she can get back to safety. And just that premise, like observing through her eyes what is happening, what the machine is doing. Can she really trust that it's not just going to take her out at any time? And what's causing it to not kill her? A lot of these books that I've been sharing have this very psychological elements of exploring the psychological piece of things like AI, of deep space exploration, of wormholes and portals and murder in space. I just love how these authors do such an excellent job of bringing in human elements like that. And that's some of the greatest sci-fi out there, is really an exploration of humanity and what it means to be human on this little rock in outer space that we live on called Earth. So definitely grab your copy of T.E. Bradford's Awakened. And that has been my privilege to talk about all these books with the 2-minute recordings that I get to do, that air at Joy on Paper. And you'll get to hear those reviews once a month from me, the sci-fi ones. You'll hear DAVON Miller sharing children's book reviews. Rita Moreau does the mystery book reviews. It's such a pleasure to have all these wonderful books to share and to.
And here, I wanted to show you and Bria having lunch. Do you see that, Devon?
Yes, that was such a wonderful experience. Of course, seeing Bria again. I know we always keep in touch via social media, but that was such a delightful day, honestly.
And of course, at Christmas time and the holiday season, all three of you, you, Bria, who does the sci-fi, and of course Rita Moreau, who does the mystery books, you all got together and came out with a list of books that people should share and buy at the holiday season, and that was really great. It was carried. Do you realize that that article was carried in over 200 newspapers and social media outlets?
Wow, just wow, wow, wow! What and that's really amazing. Honestly, what an honor that is.
Well, that's what we want to do here. We want to encourage people to read, and we want to encourage people to give books to children because it is so important. And that's why all of your wonderful, wonderful book buzz reviews are going to be, at some point we'll have them all here, and in the future, of course, we're going to be doing lots of videos about them and having you back, and sometimes you'll come back with the authors and do the book buzz live with them right here.
I'm highly looking forward to that. I know, the authors would be very much appreciative, and it would be so amazing to see them face to face and get more acquainted with them and just learn more about them. So I'm looking forward to that.
And that's what we want to do. We want to encourage people, everybody. If you have a child in your life, make sure that they have plenty of books. It is so important. And of course, for you, with your experience of being in the hospital, one of the things I want to do always with really at the end of every show, I want to talk to people about doing exactly what you do, giving books to children. And here is your website. I put it up here. And where else can people contact you?
Yes, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at author Devon Miller.
And everybody can see right there you are in the classroom, and and there is a clock over there that many people spend years and years looking at that clock, and so it's lots of fun. Devon, you've really brought a lot of joy to Joy on Paper. I always want to just compliment your parents for raising such a wonderful son. Your parents are wonderful. Your mother is so beautiful. She's just so delightful, and I'm so grateful to her and to your father and to you for all that you do for Joy on Paper. and we'll have you back. And again, thank you so much, Devon. It's just always a joy. Now, to see you also. So it's great. And you look nice there in the classroom. I think you look really good. Okay, so keep reading to
Well,
kids
thank you
and
so
let
much,
us know
PatZi.
any more developments in your life. But we will definitely set up a time for you to host some more Joy on Paper on the radio too. Okay?
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Okay. And everybody, in the next few programs, I'm going to be having a special a big story about Andrea Hyotis, who has done this wonderful drawing of me that I love, and also the one in the hammock, because that was my life spent as a child sitting between the trees and reading. So again, everybody, thank you for joining us today on Joy on Paper Live. We want to bring you lots of stories about lots of authors, and we really appreciate if you would join us whenever we're going to have a program on Wednesday nights live and Sunday at 4 o'clock live. And then, of course, during the week, I'm going to be dropping a lot more videos just because there are so many authors that I want to promote. Thank you, everybody. And this is joyonpaperlive.com. You can go to the website and see a list of upcoming authors, and I've got some really great ones, including Steve Berry. Oh, wow. We're going to have his new book and a lot more. So everybody, thank you so much for joining, and please subscribe.